Southern Utah looks incredible from the outside. You see the red rocks, the sunshine, right? The many trails, the neighborhood, Sand Hollow, the lakes, tons of golf courses, Snow Canyon, Tuacahn, and all these beautiful communities. But before you move here, there's a few things that you should know. So in this video, I'm going to break down 5 things to know before moving down here so you can figure out what actually fits your lifestyle and is the smartest move for you. Oh, and make sure you stick around to the end. The last one is actually really eye-opening. My name is Dallin Hales. I'm a realtor down here in Southern Utah. I live down here. I do this full-time. My contact info is in the description. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to call me or text me. The very first thing that you should know about Southern Utah is that Southern Utah is not just St. George. And you're like, well, yeah, I get it. But they're all very different cities. A lot of people say, I'm moving to St. George, but what they really mean is that they're looking somewhere in Southern Utah, right? St. George, Cedar City, Washington, Hurricane, Verkin, right? Any of these cities are considered Southern Utah. And if you look at St. George versus Washington, for an example, Washington is growing like crazy, right? Washington Fields is growing like weeds, and that's Washington City. Where St. George is more historical. St. George is usually going to feel very central and convenient. Hurricane and Sand Hollow can feel more recreation focused, off-roading, boating, fishing, cliff jumping at Sand Hollow, tons of trails for your dirt bikes, UTVs, right, to just go off-road. Ivins and Santa Clara can feel more quiet, more peaceful, more distance between neighbors, closer to the red rock views. Desert Color is obviously more master planned with the lagoon and feels more like a destination, with a lot of short-term rental guests. Little Valley is very popular with buyers who want a tight-knit neighborhood, a more traditional feel, and be able to go play at the fields at Little Valley. So before you pick a house, it's really important to understand all these different ones. And if you have a question, feel free to reach out to me. The second point that you should know about before moving to Southern Utah is that people are moving here not just for a house. Now that sounds kind of silly, and there are some immaculate and massive houses down here in Southern Utah, but most people are moving down here for a lifestyle. Now, I talk to people every week, and the people that really have their eye on Southern Utah are people that love to mountain bike, hike, go running on like the Virgin River Trail, which is getting expanded. They like to go boating, right? They like the lakes. There's lots of wakeboard boats here. There's tons of scenic overlooks. There's places to pull off and just go on a long hike, right? It's very outdoor, enthusiast friendly. People that move here want sunshine, red rocks, hiking, biking, golf, pickleball, lakes, trails, and new houses, and it kind of depends on where at down here you live, right? If you live in Dixie Springs area, which is like Hurricane right by Sand Hollow, a lot of people there have UTVs because there's trails right there along with boats. Now you look at living in Ivins versus Desert Color, it's a very different feel. And sometimes people don't want to be in the outskirts, such as Hurricane, Verkin leads. They want to be more central, which is St. George. So a lot of times people search Southern Utah according to price. Each of these different areas, price will get you a very different type of home. Are you trying to be close to schools? Do you want to be right next to trails and scenery or a lake to go boating? Or do you want a brand new master plan community? Do you want a traditional neighborhood feel because maybe you have kids and you want them to go out and play? Do you have an RV? Do you want a large RV parking garage? Or do you want to be primarily closer to downtown St. George where there's lots more chain restaurants? Maybe you want to live close to the hospital or the Red Cliffs Mall. So those are some things to ask yourself before looking, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction. And that leads us to point number 3 that you should know about before moving down here is the house prices and house layouts are all very different depending on which city you move to. According to Redfin, Washington County's median price point for a home down here in Washington County, right, all of Greater St. George was about $550,000, and Zillow puts it not too far from that. But if you look at $550,000 in downtown St. George, where it's much more established, much more older, the houses are going to be smaller, right, because it's a central location. But if you take $550,000 and you go to Long Valley in Washington City, you can get a brand new home that's a standalone home, right? A single family home with 2 stories for around that price range. And there's also obviously a lot of things that come into play with pricing. There's your views, right? Which several places down here have immaculate views. There's a desert color, right? And then you have to think of things such as HOA fees because of the amenities. Newer homes might have smaller lots. Although there is no shortage of gorgeous and awesome houses down here, the overall goal for most people that I talk to is not just, hey, I want the nicest, biggest house for my budget. We also consider all these other things we've talked about when we look for homes. If we chat and you say, hey, my budget is $750,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, the next question would be, okay, besides the house, what else are you looking for in a lifestyle? If you're watching this or you've seen some of my other videos and you're thinking, man, it's really cool down there, but I just don't know where to go, feel free to call me or text me. Zero pressure, but I'd love to help if there's anything I can do for you. And something else to think about is schools. Are you coming with your kids, right? Do you want good schools for your kids? That's a big one to think about. And also, do you like golf? Do you want to live on a golf course? Do you want to live near a golf course, or do you not care at all? And also the airport. Little Valley is literally on the other side of the airport, but you still have to drive all the way around. So there's some places that are 5 minutes from the airport, or do you want to live far away from it? Now, the fourth thing that you should know about before moving to southern Utah is short-term rentals. A lot of people I talk to are like absentee owners, which means, they have a second home, investment property, or like a rental property. You can't list any home you'd like on Airbnb. Especially St. George and Washington City are pretty strict making a home a short-term rental. They do this in efforts to try and protect the communities, the neighborhoods, so it doesn't become a big tourist location. There's a lot of history, there's a lot of generations that live here, and they try to protect it, and I totally get it. Having said that, there are specific areas that are zoned for short-term rentals, and it's actually really nice because you go to, there's some in Long Valley, there's some in Washington, where you can go to this area and then you're surrounded by other short-term rentals, and there's usually pools, right? They make it like a nice vacation resort. But if you're looking for a short-term rental, I'm happy to point you in which areas are zoned properly for short-term rentals. I know people down here that have short-term rentals, and they seem to have a good experience so far. The fifth thing you should know about before moving to southern Utah: buyers versus sellers and where the market stands. If you're looking to buy or sell in southern Utah, this graph from Redfin may be pretty interesting to you. You can see right here, right, according to Redfin, that there's about 600,000 more sellers than buyers. You're like, okay, so what does that mean? This is saying there's lots of sellers that are saying, hey, I want to sell my house, right? There's very few buyers to buy those houses. So what does that tell you? That there's probably less offers on houses. It means your offer as a buyer, you have some more negotiating power, right? Not saying you're gonna get the house for cheap. Houses are still selling for about 96, 97% of the listing price, but there is more negotiation that can happen in the contract process. We can't really predict where interest rates may be for the next year, 2, 5, 10 years. And so in my opinion, it's a good time to buy a house in which you may have more negotiation power in the process. So should you move to southern Utah? It's up to you. A lot of people say yes, but one of the most important decisions is where in southern Utah. Some areas are better for convenience. Some areas are better for investment properties. Some areas are better for scenery. Some areas are better for families. Depends on your budget, your lifestyle, and your long-term goals. If you haven't seen my other videos where I talk about these areas a little bit more, go ahead and click on the screen, and I'll see you in the next video.